Because when governments promote their culture, it compliments them. It brings them compliments. It's part of their PR. And when they dominate others, it makes them also feel powerful. So you see, individuals and governments have a similar psychology. Inevitably, both individuals and governments are subject to demise, depreciation, and eventually termination. Yes, that's true. One day, the United States of America will not exist. How far in the future? I don't know. But it won't exist. Maybe they're going to call it something different. They'll call it by a different name. As a matter of fact, George Bush, before he left office, he introduced legislation which was already approved to make the United States and Canada and South America all one. They call it now the Americas. The Union of the Americas. And they removed the border between Texas and Mexico and removed the border between New York and Canada. Why? Because the time calls for that. Inevitably, the United States of America, or Great Britain, or France, or Germany, or China, or Russia, or whatever they're calling it today, all governments will fall to demise, depreciation, and eventual termination. In the Quran, the scripture from which the brother he read from, may Allah reward the brother for his eloquent presentation, it says, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم تبارك الذي بيده الملك وهو على كل شيء قدير الذي خلق الموت والحياة ليبلوكم أيكم أحسن عملا. So blessed be the one in whose hands there is the ultimate dominion. And that one, the Creator, has all the power to do whatever he wants to do. It is that power, that Creator, who created the life and the death, or who created the death and the life, in order to see which one of us will be the best in our performance. No one and no group has come into being on their own, nor can anyone or any group obtain or harness the resources which they require on their own. No one has complete determination or power over themselves or others. Now there may be some people in this room here who say, I got power over myself. And you know, George Bush, I think he really thought that he had power. And his father also thought he had power. But their power is waning. Because human beings are like that. But the reality is that human beings only have limited power, influence for a short period of time. And after a certain amount of time, George Bush Sr., he's wearing diapers now. You know, you don't call them diapers. What you call them? Nappies. Because he's incontinent. That means you can't hold your water. You know, one day George Bush Jr., he was coming off of the Air Force One. You know, he's full of power. He was coming off one of them things, you know, and he was coming down off that plane, and he didn't look at them steps, you know. He was like waving and fell down. Well, just 2 weeks ago, he had been named the Commander-in-Chief of Outer Space. You know, they sent some rockets up there or whatever. They said, there ain't nobody up here but us. They put the American flag down and said, that's it. We controlling outer space now. So George Bush became the Commander-in-Chief of Outer Space. But when he came off the Air Force One and missed that step, he fell on his face. Get beat with that one. See? So life is full of paradoxes. Life is like that. One day up, one day down. One day here, next day gone. because no one has complete determination or power over themselves or others. An example, thinking. No one thinks on their own. Thought patterns are something which, you see, are provoked. The human being has very little control over their thoughts. You can monitor your thoughts, you can discipline your thoughts, you can focus and direct your thoughts, but thinking is something that is provoked and it is happening. Even the thought patterns, how they take place, has just recently become known. What about blinking? The human being, he can't even control their blinking. I said to a person one day, I said, listen, they said, I can control my blinking. I said, okay, listen, I'll give you 50 pounds if you just don't blink, you know, for the next 3 minutes. They said, they were like that. I kept looking, I said, no. I said, I see you blink. You know, just kept on. You can't, because you can't control that. That's part of the bodily functions. You can't control thinking, you can't control blinking, you can't control salivation, you can't control so many things that's happening inside of your body which is not under your control. This is a sign that human beings only have a small amount of control. But we can direct some things, we can observe some things. Thinking, blinking, bodily functions, elements, immutable law like gravity. We observe it, but we don't control it. And the irreversible dynamics of age and time. If Helena Rubinstein, if she controlled aging, she wouldn't have no wrinkles herself. But she can't, and nobody else can. Wal asr. Innal insana lafi khusr, the Quran said. By the time, by its passing, by the token that's been given, which is a mandate on all human beings will pass on and die and lose everything. Except what? Those that did some actions that had some perpetual value. And that perpetual value, they will see it. Therefore, we are all subject and subordinate in the same way, shape, or form. And if this world has been designed, there must be a what? And if this world is being sustained and we're not sustaining it, there must be a what? And if this world is under control with laws that we can witness and we're not controlling it, there must be a what? And if we can witness power beyond the capacity and parameter of human beings, then there must be a supreme power. And if we are seeking knowledge at such a rate of sophistication and diversity, but we haven't still arrived at just a small amount of knowledge, we're still discovering simple things, then there must be a higher knowledge. And if we are accountable to things and places and institutions and time and space and other things, if we are accountable, then there has to be a higher, ultimate source of what? Accountability. To think otherwise is to be absurd, to be impractical, to be arrogant to the point of ignorance. We all seek careers. We undertake projects, marriage, education. We enter contracts. We make commitments. And we look for results. We look for consequences, rewards, benefits, and accounts payable and receivable. In every company, there's a manager or an owner. In every government, there's a king or a sovereign. And in every family, there were parents, at least until recently. We're entering a new age of the parentless family. Or we enter an age in which the family doesn't have to be mom and dad anymore. It could be mom and mom, dad and dad. Can you imagine that? Going to school, and your classmate, you say, I want you to come home and meet my mom and mom. Or my dad and dad. Well, I mean, you know, the society we're living in today,